Well, the thing about Colab is that people came at different times and interacted, and maybe they found what they needed or not. Maybe they found people to work with. And then they went on to whatever was next for them. Theme shows in lofts and storefronts, places that were already ours, preceded the Times Square show. Times Square wasn't cleaned up yet. It was an area with the New York Times, the Broadway theaters, public bus and train terminals, corporate headquarters, but there were still sex and peep shows and prostitutes, so the street life was much dicier than it is now. So people of all classes, races, and versions of gender flowed through the neighborhood every day and interacted, and we were putting ourselves among them. John Ahern found 3 spaces, and he took Tom back to see them. John said that when he and Tom first met the landlord, they agreed in principle right away. Colleen Fitzgibbon, Uli Rimkus, myself, and Tom were officers of Colab. Uli and Colleen, John and Tom went back to the landlord and made a deal. $2,000 for rent, $500 for security deposit, a month for preparation, and a month for exhibition. Before I showed you these slides, I showed them to John, Kara Perlman, Matthew Geller, Colleen, and Tom, because they were the people I planned with the most, plus Uli Rimkus. You'll get an idea of what was there. The building had a basement and 4 floors, and they were not all the same size. The entrance was on 41st Street, and we'll look around the rooms clockwise. Mark Blaine, Mike Roddy, myself, and Becky Howland, standing around in the lobby before there was glass in the windows, and a puppet made by Wally Edwards and David Wells. The puppet is James Brown. On the wall, there's some broken records by Willie Heeks, and one of my drawings that you can't really see. Next, there's an installation by Matthew Geller. There were these doors that looked out on the parking lot, but they were blocked off. They were also boarded up, so that made a little space in there. And there was a text, and there was a telephone, and you could hear the text on the telephone, and there was a mannequin, and actually there I am listening to the text. Skittering past the stage is a sculpture by Tom Otterness, one of Robin Winters' drawings, and this is a piece by Candace Hill Montgomery. There's one of my posters, one of Reese Williams' posters, a collage by Bobby G., and the air conditioner by Kenny Scharf. Down in the basement is Rosemary Mayer's sculpture and Joe Fry's Erotic Fruit, a fountain by Becky Howland. And I didn't photograph Houston Lauda's wonderful piece or those great things going up and down the stairs because somebody else had already done it. Those are my ailanthus trees painted on the wall. Vortex Velocity was painted by Mitch Korber, and that boxer is by Aline Mayer. That's Bill Stevens from the Studio Museum. He and Candace Hill made an installation you'll see upstairs. The clock above his head was a clock I made that just had a second hand. It didn't have any numbers. John Ahern and Rigoberto Torres had portrait heads in many places around the building. That was the door to the gift shop, and there's some Samo graffiti on the bottom. L. Abrams, who made the doll. Scott Miller's painting. And a sculpture by Tom Otterness. So now we're going upstairs to the second floor. Those are Christy Rupp's rats in the stairwell. We'll see Kara Perlman's paintings based on items in the news. Paulette Nenner. Richard Miller's Man Killed by Air Conditioner. Keith Haring and Kenny Scharf's installation. Someone built a wall in front of it. And this is the Money, Love, and Death Room. Wallpaper by Christoph Goldhofer, Robin Winters, Colleen Fitzgibbons, and Christy Rupp. And artworks by Richard Mock, Richard Bosman, Candace Hill Montgomery, Wally Edwards, John Ahern, Tom Otterness, John Ahern, Tom Otterness, Colleen's drawings and one of mine on the right, Stefan Eins, this is an installation by Jane Sherry and Aline Mayer. Above the door, there's an Alex Katz. There was a newsroom that Peter Fend and Jenny Holzer made. Afghanistan border change. Bobby G. Howie Montag and Kaz Porter. That's one of Scott Miller's sculptures and some Sandy Seymour hubcaps with shoes. That's a Robin Winters and Colleen Fitzgibbon drawing. John Ahern head of Tom Otterness. Sandy Seymour's hubcap with shoe. And this is a number of people. That's a John Morton triangle back there and boy sleeping. Photo of David by Matthew Geller. And we called this Willie's Passage. There's a man named Willie Neal who worked with Bill Kamowski. This is an anonymous painting between the passageway and this installation by Candace Hill Montgomery and Bill Stevens and others, 92 Morningside, and that was about the police that murdered Fred Hampton. That's a John Ahern or a Rigoberto Torres sculpture. There's another one coming up. David Hammonds broke night train bottles and left this green broken glass there. The pink pig was made by Angela Fremont, and the man painting was by Kathleen Gilia. This is next the portrait room, with portraits of artists by Robin Winters on plaster. And above is a big shelf of Mimi Gross's portraits of the men who were killed in the hostage crisis. There's 5 paintings by Duncan Hanna on that wall, 3 photographs by Gregory Lehman, 2 paintings by Jane Dixon, one of Uli Rimkus and one of Kiki Smith. There's Walter Robinson up in the corner. And these are Wolfgang Stehle's photos. Joe Lewis's installation. Walter Robinson's paintings, Becky Howland, Kiki Smith. That is Jean-Michel's first painting, we think. And this is the Fashion Lounge. Colleen told this great story about, at the fashion show, them wearing clothes from the Salvation Army and being slathered with house paint as they walked by. I didn't remember that, but There's an Olivier Mosset painting, I believe, and a view of Becky Howland working on her installation on the window. The portrait gallery continues with Tom Otterness's Lead Coat and a number of portraits by Rigoberto Torres and John Ahern. These are life casts. Those are 2 photographs by Jules Allen. And there's some Terry Slotkin photos, another David Wells puppet. This is moving up to the 3rd floor. That's a portrait of Klaus Nomi by Kenny Scharf. And these beautiful skins of Christoph Kohlhofer's, some photos of Jackie Oakes. That's the boy who was asleep downstairs with Charlie Ahern's poster up top. There's Babs Egan's painting of Mao and several drawings by Colleen Fitzgibbon with also a Christoph Kohlhofer. Judy Rifka, more Colleen Fitzgibbon. Kiki Smith's pink guitar and Gregory Lehman's photo. That's the Shaw's photo being burned. This is some graffiti by Bill and Mike. And Jamie Summers' sink with salt, crystals, and wax drawings on the wall. That was Mike Lear's installation at the back, Robin Winters and Colleen's drawings, Rhys Williams' drawings on the wall, Tom Otterness drawing on the wall, Bill Kamowski, Mark Blaine. This is Ann Newmarch. This is her amazing carpet with the bank logos. This is Christy Rupp. And this is Christy Rupp's rat fountain. So this isn't complete, but we're working on it. Francine Curie and Wolfgang Stahler, Terry Slotkin and Lisa Kahane, and others also took pictures. And perhaps we can put those together.